Now, hello, hello. The meeting of Jethro and Moses. Jethro, priest of Midian, Moses' father in law, had heard all about what God had done for Moses and for Israel his people, how Yahweh had brought Israel out of Egypt. Jethro, Moses' father in law, then took back Zipporah, Moses' wife, whom Moses had sent home with her two sons. One of them was called Gershom because he had said, I'm an alien in a foreign land, and the other called Eliezer because my father's God is my help and has delivered me from Pharaoh's sword. Then Jethro, Moses' father in law, with Moses' son and wife, came to Moses in the desert where he was encamped at the mountain of God. Here's your father in law Jethro approaching. Moses was told, with your wife and her two sons. So Moses went out to greet his father in law and bowed low to him and kissed him. And and when each had asked about how the other was, they went into the tent. Moses then told his father-in-law all about what Yahweh had done to Pharaoh and the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and about all the hardships that they had encountered on the way, and how Yahweh had rescued them. And Jethro was delighted at all Yahweh's goodness to Israel in having rescued them from the clutches of the Egyptians. Blessed be Yahweh, Jethro exclaimed, for having rescued you from the clutches of the Egyptians and the clutches of Pharaoh, for having rescued the people from the grasp of the Egyptians. Now I know that Yahweh is greater than all other gods. Jethro, Moses' father in law, then offered a burnt offering and other sacrifices to God. And Aaron and all the elders of Israel came and ate with Moses' father in law in the presence of God. The appointment of judges. On the following day, Moses took his seat to administer justice for the people, and the people were standing around him from morning till evening, seeing all he did for the people. Moses' father in law said to him, Why do you do this for the people? Why sit here alone with the people standing around you from morning till evening? Moses replied to his father in law, Because the people came to me to consult God. When they have a problem, they come to me, and I gave a ruling between the one and the other and make God's statutes and laws known to them. Moses' father in law then said to him, What you are doing is not right. You will only tire yourself out, and the people with you too, for the work is too heavy for you. You cannot do it all yourself. Now listen to the advice I am going to give you, and God be with you. Your task is to represent the people to God, to lay their cases before God, and to teach them the statutes and laws, and show them the way they ought to follow and how they ought to behave. At the same time, for the people at large, choose capable and God fearing men who are trustworthy and incorruptible, and put them in charge of them as heads of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens, and make them the people's permanent judges. They will refer all important matters to you, but all minor matters they will decide themselves. So, making things easier for you by sharing the burden with you. If you do this, and may God so command you, you will be able to stand the strain, and all these people will go home satisfied. Moses took his father in law's advice and did just as he said. Moses chose capable men from all Israel and put them in charge of the people as heads of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. These acted as the people's permanent judges. They referred hard cases to Moses, but decided minor matters to themselves. Moses then set his father in law on his way, and he traveled back to his own country. The covenant at Sinai. The Israelites reached Sinai. 3 months to the day after leaving Egypt, the Israelites reached the desert of Sinai. Setting out from Rephidim, they reached the desert of Sinai and pitched camp in the desert. There, facing the mountain, Israel pitched camp. Yahweh promises the covenant. Moses then went up to God, and Yahweh called to him from the mountain, saying, Say this to the house of Jacob. Tell the Israelites, You have seen for yourselves what I did to the Egyptians and how I carried you away on eagle's wings and brought you to me. So now, if you really are or if you are really prepared to obey me and keep my covenant, you, out of all the peoples, shall be my personal possession, for the whole world is mine. For me, you shall be kingdom of priests, a holy nation. Those are the words you say to the Israelites. So Moses went and summoned the people's elders and acquainted them with everything that Yahweh had bidden him. And the people all replied with one accord, whatever Yahweh has said, we will do. Moses then reported to Yahweh what the people had said, preparing for the covenant. Yahweh then said to Moses, look, I shall come to you in a dense cloud so that the people will hear when I speak to you and believe you ever after. Moses then told Yahweh what the people had said. Yahweh then said to Moses, go to the people and tell them to sanctify themselves today and tomorrow. They must wash their clothes and be ready for the day after tomorrow. For the day after tomorrow, in the sight of all the people, Yahweh will ascend on Mount Sinai. You will mark out the limits of the mountain and say, take care not to go up the mountain or to touch the edge of it. Anyone who touches the mountain will be put to death. No one may lay a hand on him. He must be stoned or shot by arrow. Whether man or beast, he shall not live. When the ram's horn sounds a long blast, and they must go up the mountain. So Moses came down from the mountain to the people. He made the people sanctify themselves, and they washed their clothes. He then said to the people, be ready for the day after tomorrow. Do not touch a woman. The Theopha- Theo- Theophany on Sinai. Now at daybreak, 2 days later, there were pearls of thunder and flashes of lightning, dense cloud on the mountain, and a very loud trumpet blast. And in the camp, all the people trembled. Then Moses led the people out of the camp to meet God, and they took their stand at the bottom of the mountain. Mount Sinai was entirely wrapped in smoke, because Yahweh had descended on it in the form of fire. The smoke rose like a smoke from a furnace, and the whole mountain shook violently. Louder and louder grew the trumpeting. Moses spoke, and God answered him in the thunder. Yahweh descended on Mount Sinai on top of the mountain, and Yahweh called Moses to the top of the mountain. And Moses went up. Yahweh then said to Moses, go down and warn the people not to break through to look at Yahweh, or many of them will perish. Even the priests who do have access to Yahweh must sanctify themselves, or Yahweh may burst out against them. Moses said to Yahweh, the people cannot come up Mount Sinai, since you yourself warned us to mark out the limits of the mountain and declare it sacred. Yahweh said, away with you, go down. Then come back bringing Aaron with you, but do not allow the priests and people to break through to come up to Yahweh, or he may burst out against them. So Moses went down to the people and spoke to them. The Decalogue. Then God spoke all these words. He said, I am Yahweh your God, who brought you out of Egypt, where you lived as slaves. You shall have no other gods to rival me. You shall not make yourself a carved image or any likeness of anything in heaven above, or on earth beneath, or in the waters under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them. For I, Yahweh your God, am a jealous God, and I punish a parent's fault and the children, the grandchildren, and the great grandchildren among those who hate me. But I act with faithful love toward thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not misuse the name of Yahweh your God, for Yahweh will not leave unpunished anyone who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. For 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath for Yahweh your God. You shall do no work that day, neither you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your servants, men or women, nor your animals, nor the alien living with you. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens, earth, and sea, and all these contain. But on the seventh day he rested. That is why Yahweh had blessed the Sabbath day and made it sacred. Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land that Yahweh your God is giving you. You shall not kill, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not give false evidence against your neighbor, you shall not set your heart on your neighbor's house, you shall not set your heart on your neighbor's spouse, or servant, man or woman, or ox or donkey, or any of your neighbor's possessions. Seeing the thunder pealing, the lightning flashing, the trumpet blasting, and the mountain smoking, the people were all terrified and kept their distance. Speak to us yourself, they said to Moses, and we will obey. But do not let God speak to us, or we shall die. Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid. God has come to test you so that your fear of him, being always in your mind, may keep you from sinning." So the people kept their distance while Moses approached the dark cloud where God was. The Book of the Covenant. Law concerning the altar. Yahweh said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites this: Ye have seen for yourselves how I have spoken to you from heaven. You must not make gods of silver to rival me, nor must you make yourselves gods of gold. You must make an altar of earth on which to worship your burnt offerings and communion sacrifices, your sheep and cattle. Wherever I choose to have my name remembered, I shall come to you and bless you. If you make me an altar of stone, do not build it of dressed stones, for if you use a chisel on it, you will profane it. You must not go up to my altar by steps, in case you expose your nakedness on them." The laws concerning slaves. These are the laws you must give them. When you buy a Hebrew slave, his service will last for 6 years. In the seventh year, he will leave a free man without paying compensation. If he came single, he would depart single. If he came married, his wife will depart with him. If his master gives him a wife, and she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and her children will belong to the master, and he will depart alone. But if the slave says, "I love my master and my wife and children, I do not wish to be freed," then his master will bring him before God, and then leading him to the door or the doorpost, his master will pierce his ear with an awl, and the slave will be permanently his. If a man sells his daughter as a slave, she will not leave as male slaves do. If she does not please her master who intended her for himself, he must let her be bought back. But he has not the right to sell her to foreigners, for this would be a breach of faith with her. If he intends her for his son, he must treat her as custom requires daughters to be treated. If he takes another wife, he must not reduce the food, clothing, or conjugal rights of the first one. Should he deprive her of these three things, she will leave a free woman without paying compensation. Homicide. Anyone who by violence causes his death must be put to death. If, however, he has not planned to do it, but it comes from God by his hand, he can take refuge in a place which I shall appoint for you. But should any person dare to kill another with deliberate planning, you will take that person, even from my altar, to be put to death. Anyone who strikes father or mother will be put to death. Anyone who abducts a person, whether that person has since been sold or is still held, will be put to death. Anyone who curses father or mother will be put to death. Blows and wounds. If people quarrel and one strikes the other a blow with stone or fist so that the injured party, though not dead, is confined to a bed, but later recovers and can go about even with a stick, the one who struck the blow will have no liability, other than to compensate the injured party for the enforced inactivity to take care of the injured party until the cure is complete. If someone beats his slave, male or female, and the slave dies at his hands, he must pay the penalty. But should the slave survive for 1 or 2 days, he will pay no penalty because the slave is his by right of purchase. If people, when brawling, hurt a pregnant woman and she suffers a miscarriage, but no further harm is done, the person responsible will pay compensation as fixed by the woman's master, paying as much as the judges decide. If further harm is done, however, you will award life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stroke for stroke. If anyone strikes the eye of his slave, male or female, and destroys the use of it, he will give the slave his freedom to compensate for the eye. If he knocks out the tooth of his slave, male or female, he will give his slave his freedom to compensate for the tooth. If an ox gores a man or woman to death, the ox will be stoned and its meat will not be eaten, but the owner of the ox will not be liable. But if the ox has been in the habit of goring before, and if its owner had been warned but has not kept it under control, then should this ox kill a man or woman, it will be stoned and its owner put to death. If a ransom is imposed on the owner, he will pay whatever it is imposed to redeem his life. If the ox gores a boy or a girl, it will be treated in accordance with the same rule. If the ox gores a slave, male or female, its owner will pay the price, 30 shekels to their master. The ox will be stoned, and the ox will be stoned. If anyone leaves a pit uncovered or digs a pit and does not cover it, and an ox or donkey falls into it, then the owner of the pit will make good the loss by compensating its owner, and the dead animal will be his. If anyone's ox injures anyone else's ox, causing it death, the owners will sell and share the money for it. They will also share the dead animal. But if it is common knowledge that the ox has been in the habit of goring before, and the owner has not kept it under control, the owner will repay ox for ox and will keep the dead animal. Theft of animals. If anyone steals an ox or sheep and slaughters or sells it, he will pay back 5 beasts from the herd of the ox for the ox, and 4 animals from the flock for the sheep. If a thief is caught breaking in and is struck a mortal blow, his blood may not be avenged. But if it happens after sunrise, his blood may be avenged. He will make full restitution. If he has not the means, he will be sold to pay for what he has stolen. If the stolen animal is found alive in his possession, be it ox, donkey, or animal from the flock, he will pay back double. Offenses requiring compensation. If anyone puts his animals out to graze in a field or vineyard and lets them graze in someone else's field, he will make restitution for the part of the field that has been grazed on the basis of its yield. But if he has let the whole field be grazed, he will he will make restitution in proportion to the best crop of the field or vineyard. If a fire breaks out, setting light to thorn bushes and burning stacks, standing corn or the field as a result, the person who started the fire will make full restitution. If anyone entrusts money or goods to someone else's keeping and these are stolen from that person's house, the thief, if he can be discovered, will repay double. Should the thief not be discovered, the owner of the house will come into the presence of God to declare that he has not laid hands on the other person's property. In every case of law breaking involving an ox, donkey, animal from the flock, clothing, or lost property of any sort, the ownership of which is disputed, both parties will lay their case before God. The party whom God pronounces guilty will pay back double to the other. If anyone entrusts the donkey, ox, animal from the flock or any other animal to someone else's keeping, and it dies or breaks a limb or is carried off without anyone seeing, an oath by Yahweh will decide between the two parties whether the keeper has laid hands on the other's property or not. The owner will take what remains. The keeper will not have to make good the loss. Only if the animal has been stolen from him will he make the restitution to the owner. If it has been savaged by a wild animal, he must bring the savage remains of the animal as evidence and will then not have to make restitution. If anyone borrows an animal from someone else and it breaks a limb or dies in the owner's absence, he will make full restitution. But if the animal's owner has been present, he will not have to make good the loss. If the owner has hired it out, he will get the cost of its hire. Violation of a virgin. If a man seduces a virgin who is not engaged to be married, he will pay her bride price and make her his wife. If her father absolutely refuses to let him have her, he will pay a sum equivalent to the bride price of a virgin. Moral and religious laws. You will not allow a sorceress to live. Anyone who has intercourse with an animal will be put to death. Anyone who sacrifices to other gods will be put under the curse of destruction. You will not molest or oppress aliens, for you yourselves were once aliens in Egypt. You will not you will not ill treat widows or orphans. If you ill treat them in any way and they make an appeal to me for help, I shall certainly hear their appeal. My anger will be roused, and I shall put you to the sword. Then your own wives will be widows, and your own children orphans. If you lend money to any of my people, to anyone poor among you, you will not play the usurer with him. You will not demand interest from him. If you take someone's cloak in pledge, you will return it to him at sunset. It is all the covering he has. It is the cloak he wraps his body in. What else will he sleep in? If he appeals to me, I shall listen. At least with me he will find compassion. You will not revel God, nor curse your people's leader. First fruits and firstborn. Do not be slow about making offerings from your abundance and your surplus. You will give me the firstborn of of your children. You will do the same with your flocks and herds. For the first 7 days, the firstborn will stay with its mother. On the eighth day, you will give it to me. You must you must be people consecrated to me. You will not eat the meat of anything in the countryside savaged by wild animals. You will throw it to the dogs. Justice duties towards animals. You will not spread false rumors. You will not lend support to the wicked by giving untrue evidence. You will not be led into the wrongdoing by the majority, nor, when giving evidence in a lawsuit, side with the majority to pervert the course of justice, nor will you show partiality to the poor in a lawsuit. If you come on your enemy's ox or donkey straying, you will take it back to him. If you see the donkey or if someone who hates you fallen under its load, do not stand back. You must go and help him with it. You will not cheat the poor among you of their rights at law. Keep clear of fraud. Do not cause the death of the innocent or upright, and do not acquit the guilty. You will accept no bribes, for a bribe blinds the clear sighted, and is the ruin of the cause of the upright. You will not oppress the alien. You know how an alien feels, for yourselves were once aliens in Egypt. The sabbatical year and the Sabbath. For 6 years you will sow your land and gather its produce, but in the seventh year you will let it lie fallow and forego all produce from it, so that those of your people who are poor can take food from it, and the wild animals eat what they have left. You will do the same with your vineyard and your olive grove. For 6 days you will do your work, and on the seventh you will rest, so that your ox and your donkey may rest, and the children or the child of your slave girl have your breathing space, and the alien too. Take notice of everything I have told you, and do not mention the name of any other god. Let none ever be heard from your lips. The great feast. 3 times a year you will hold a festival in my honor. You will observe the feast of unleavened bread. For 7 days you will eat unleavened bread, as I have commanded you, at the appointed time in this month of Abib, for in that month you came out of Egypt. No one will appear before me empty handed. You will also observe the feast of harvest, of the first fruits of your labors in sowing the fields, and the feast of ingathering at the end of the year. Once you have brought the fruits of your labors in from the fields, 3 times a year, all your menfolk will appear before Lord Yahweh. You will not offer the blood of my victim with leavened bread, nor will the fat of my feast be kept to the following day. You will bring best of the first fruits of your soil to the house of Yahweh your God. You will not boil a kid in its mother's milk. Promises and instructions for the entry into Canaan. Look, I am sending an angel to precede you, to guard you as you go, and bring you to the place that I have prepared. Revere him and obey what he says. Do not defy him. He will not forgive any wrongdoing on your part, for my name is in him. If, however, you obey what he says and do whatever I order, I shall be an enemy to your enemies and a foe to your foe. My angel will precede you and lead you to the home of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, and the Canaanites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, whom I shall exterminate. You will not bow down to their gods or worship them or observe their rites, but throw them down and smash their cultic stones. You will worship Yahweh your God, and I shall bless your food and water and keep you free of sickness. In your country no woman will miscarry, none will be sterile, and I shall give you your full term of life. I shall send terror of myself ahead of you. I shall throw all of the peoples you encounter into confusion and make all your enemies take to their heels. I shall send hornets ahead of you to drive the Hivite, Canaanite, and Hittite out before you. I shall not drive them out ahead of you in a single year, or the land might become a desert where wild animals will multiply to your cost. I shall drive them out little by little before you until your numbers grow sufficient for you to take possession of the land. In your frontiers I shall fix from the sea of reeds to the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert to the river. For I shall put the inhabitants of the territory at your mercy, and you will drive them out before you. You will make no pact with them or with their gods. They may not stay in your country, or they might make you sin against me. For you would serve their gods, and that would be a snare for you. The ratification of the covenant. He then said to Moses, "Come up to Yahweh, you, Aaron, and Nadab, and Abihu, and the 70 of the elders of Israel, and bow down at a distance. Moses alone will approach Yahweh, the others will not approach, nor will the people come up with him." Moses went and told the people all Yahweh's words and all the laws, and all the people answered with one voice, "All the words Yahweh has spoken we will carry out." Moses put all Yahweh's words into writing, and early next morning built an altar at the foot of the mountain, with 12 standing stones for the 12 tribes of Israel. Then he sent certain young Israelites to offer burnt offerings and sacrifice bullocks to Yahweh as communion sacrifices. Moses then took half of the blood and put it into basins, and the other half he sprinkled on the altar. Then, taking the book of the covenant, he read it to the listening people, who then said, "We shall do everything that Yahweh has said, we shall obey." Moses then took the blood and sprinkled it over the people, saying, "This is the blood of the covenant which Yahweh has made with you," entailing all these stipulations. Moses, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and 70 elders of Israel then went up, and they saw God of Israel, beneath whose feet there was what looked like a sapphire pavement, pure as the heavens themselves. But he did no harm to the Israelite notables. They actually gazed on God and then ate and drank. Moses on the mountain. Yahweh said to Moses, come up to me on the mountain, stay there, and I will give you stone tablets, the law and the commandment, which I have written for their instruction. Moses made ready with Joshua his assistant, and they went up to the mountain of God. He said to the elders, "Wait here for us until we come back to you. You have Aaron and Hur with you. If anyone has any matters to settle, let him go to them." Moses then went up the mountain. Cloud covered the mountain. The glory of Yahweh rested on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it for 6 days. On the seventh day, Yahweh called to Moses from inside the cloud. To the watching Israelites, the glory of Yahweh looked like a devouring fire on the mountaintop. Moses went right into the cloud and went on up the mountain. Moses stayed on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. Wow. Instructions on the building of the sanctuary and on its ministers. Contributions for the sanctuary.